pause. And then I saw Oppenheimer this weekend, and I understand that you
Oh,
did too.
yeah, dude, I saw Oppenheimer on Monday.
Yeah, what'd you think?
Um, I thought a couple of things, and I was trying to gather my thoughts on it in the shower earlier. Um,
I thought it was fine.
yeah,
Like
it
I'll
was
say
a
this.
good movie.
Yeah, I'll say this to get your gears turning a little bit. I give it a solid 7 out of 10. Like I liked it. I thought it was good.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I
I
think I'm
think
about there. Seven and a half out of 10, 7 out of 10, like 8 out of 10, maybe as a biopic, you know? Um,
I'm pretty stingy with my numbers, right? Like I don't 7 out of 10 is good. It's like
yeah.
it's solid. But yeah, and I liked it, right? Like I think people like right wingers on Twitter were bitching about it because they're like, oh, it's like propaganda, and like I didn't really get that to be honest.
Propaganda for what? For
For
the
like
US or
for
for
like
like
against the Red Scare, which is kind of funny because
wait,
honestly,
pro-communism propaganda?
yeah, exactly. Which I didn't even really get, especially given that like the third act of the movie, well, whatever. Um, I didn't really get that.
I mean,
Um,
I think that first of all, I think that the Red Scare was nonsense to begin with. I think that
right.
there's definitely like a lot of I mean, I think there's a lot of sick intellectuals that were involved with Marxist parties in the United States that were like not, that's not good necessarily. I think that maybe like the communist movement in the United States wasn't exactly really representative of working class needs,
It's a bunch of
probably.
fucking rich people.
Right, for sure. But like also the McCarthyism and that kind of shit, it's like I don't think that was called for. Um,
Yeah,
and like,
I can't like I'm open to the idea that people say like, oh, like the untaught history is that like actually they were like onto something. I'm like open to that idea, I guess, but I don't really have any reason to like really believe that a ton. And so I kind of just default to just like, yeah, I mean it's kind of just witch hunts, and
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I welcome anybody to come in and like pill us on it, but it's not really
yeah,
it's
sure,
not
I'll
really one of
have
my
it.
it's not really one of my passions,
Yeah.
And am I like maxing out like a ton?
I was about to say you're kind of clipping a little bit. It wasn't a whole lot, but yeah, it was getting grainy.
Let's see here. Well, I'll just move my fucking mic away.
Yeah, you can
I
just
just
move
have
it a
too
tiny bit.
powerful of a voice.
Yeah, you're saying it with your chest.
Dude, as a side note, I recently I got these good headphones I was telling you about,
Oh yeah.
and I fucking set up an old like receiver that I used to like run like vinyl through. I
Hmm.
set up an old receiver on my computer desk to like listen to my computer audio through these headphones with, and it
Oh
sounds so fucking good, dude. Like as an amp and a DAC.
yeah,
And
that's
so I've got
cool.
it's super cool. I've got like the solid setup, dude, analog audio.
Hell yeah.
It's nice, man. It's nice.
Yeah,
Listen to a little. Go ahead.
I remember you got some new speakers like maybe 6 months a year ago, and you were talking about you're just in your room listening to Steely Dan, soy jacking.
Is exactly. No, I was just gonna say I took these for a little test drive with some Steely Dan.
Fuck yeah.
Um, anyways, yeah, I thought it was good, man. One thing that that I really liked about the movie was I don't know about you, man, but that first act of the movie where it's okay. First of all, the first act of the movie, the beginning of the first act of the movie, and the beginning of the third act of the movie are like straight up bad.
Hmm.
Okay. Like the very beginning of the movie is completely discombobulated and it has no plot,
Yeah.
and it's just like imagery. And so when he poisons the apple, you're like, thank fucking God. I'm like actually getting a story here.
Yeah.
And then the beginning of the third act is kind of like, and people are gonna shoot me for this, but like the first time I saw Return of the King, like Lord of the Rings,
Hmm.
it was just like, Jesus Christ, this movie has like 8 fucking endings. Like, just end already. It's
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
fucking long. And I've since, come around on it and everything, but like the end of the second act feels like where the movie basically should have ended,
Yeah.
you know? And then it just becomes this whole other thing.
Yeah. Like legalistic jargon about some
Exactly.
other guy like that I don't even know about.
No, exactly. And at that point, like, I'll be honest, like the twist with Strauss like doesn't land with me at all
No.
because
Yeah.
my brain is pudding. And it's the least interesting part of the movie.
Yeah.
Point is, that very beginning of the movie reminded me a lot of that fucking sicko Stephen Hawking biopic that came out a few years ago.
Oh, I didn't watch that shit, but I know what you're talking about.
It's disgusting.
Is
And
it?
I don't like it, but
Yeah, I could see
uh,
that, bro.
but point is, like, it does that thing. It was kind of like the beginning of that trope of being like, oh yeah, like uh scientists actually, have a beautiful understanding of the universe, and like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they're actually like artists and holy men.
Yeah.
And I was so worried that the movie was going to do that, especially in the beginning, but it didn't do that like at all. And
No, no, no.
it actually was kind of the opposite, and I'm glad
Yeah.
about that.
I think that since he's more, I would say this about quantum physicists and people who are like in the quantum mechanics world and quantum theory. They have they're trying to understand metaphysics on a level. And so they have more of a respect for like metaphysical concepts, I think, and they kind of approach it in a way that's a little bit more of a kind of maybe bringing some sort of fusion of metaphysical ideas and more science-based kind of thought. So I think that like he and that kind of movement is going to be a little more open to you know metaphysical or spiritual traditions and not so much rigid like materialist science. So I think in that view, then I don't really think that like Oppenheimer is going to turn around and be like super Neil deGrasse Tyson about it, because I think like
Right.
because I feel like Neil deGrasse Tyson and that kind of thing is just a different field of thinking. Like they're like puppets for a scientific establishment, whereas like people who are actually doing like quantum physics and trying to like chart this shit out at a high level, they're just trying to like open themselves up to unknown things in the universe. So I can appreciate that in a more of a like pure curiosity and like quote unquote truth seeking way, than in like these people who are just like strict materialist. But secondarily, about Oppenheimer, I was a little bit just kind of like let down.
Mm.
It felt too long to me.
It was way too long.
I just feel like every movie that I see that's 3 hours, I just every time I'm like, it could have been shorter. And I'm in a theater, and which is cool. Like movies cost so fucking much now. It's all right to like get a longer movie to get your money's worth, kind of. But at the same time, I'm like, Jesus, dude, it's getting late. I'm in here. I've like been sitting on my ass for 3 hours, and now I'm seeing another 45 minutes about a guy I don't even know, and I didn't even know that's what the movie was going to be. And so that was a little bit frustrating. And then for me,
I mean, that's why, like I said, like the beginning of the third act is absolutely the low point of the film.
yeah. Yeah, dude. First of all, I didn't know that was Robert Downey Jr. at first. It took me a while to even figure it out because he looks so crazy compared
Yeah,
to how he normally
he do
looks.
be looking kind of crazy, all
He looks all
bald and
gaunt.
shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyhow, yeah, I don't know. I thought it was too long. I thought it was kind of a letdown in the fact that I was expecting like the way it was marketed and the way that even just like the trailer that was clipped, I was expecting some sort of visionary, cinematic, like cerebral imagery, experimental kind of masterpiece here. Not really, but like and I thought it was going to be heavier on
Mm.
the cinematography. Fuck.
You got there. You got there.
Jesus Christ. But I thought it was going to be heavier on that. Yeah, eschatology, cinematography type of shit. It kind of was like eschatology a little bit, this movie. Because they talk about the world ending and everything.
Yeah.
They do. They talk about everything catching on fire, whatever, this world ending fire. But yeah, I just thought it was going to be a lot more cool looking shit, and explosion, like fire, plasma kind of footage. and it wasn't.
Can I just say, as a side note, like, I know like there was a lot of hay made about the fact that Nolan didn't want the bomb to be CGI.
Yeah.
And so he like made it in practical effects, and like I'm like pained to like say this, but like I like felt like the explosion scene was kind of disappointing.
Big time, dude.
Like it wasn't as big as I thought it was gonna
No.
be.
No, I thought they were gonna maybe show footage of like, maybe old footage of real nuke tests or something. Like, do something to try to like make it a little bit more grandiose. But it just, well, I don't know. It came out flat to me on that front. But that's maybe just because I had a wrong expectation going into the film. If I went into it like, hey, this is gonna be a biopic about Oppenheimer and about like this other dude Strauss, then maybe I would have been like, oh yeah, that's it. You know, it delivered exactly what it was supposed to. But I went into it with, I think, a different expectation based on my own fabrication, but also just kind of like the trailer basically showed the whole fucking explosion scene. Like, what the fuck, dude? I saw that and I was like, oh, this whole movie's gonna be that. Like, just really cool, you know, photos and shit of plasma. They're trying to figure it out.
I was like kind of expecting like it to be the kind of thing where it's like because it's Christopher Nolan, right? So it's going to be like, well, it literally was like out of chronological order.
Oh my god, it was dude, it was unbelievable. The timelines, dude. What the fuck? They didn't give a date ever.
No, they didn't. But all they gave you was fucking black and white.
Yeah, and it was, dude. The black and white was in the more present time. So what the fuck is that about, dude?
So, it kind of reminded me of Solaris, if you've ever seen that, like Andrei Tarkovsky. Because the beginning of the movie opens with like a scientist looking into like a pool of water, which is the same opening shot, and then it has those the different timelines set in black and white.
It kind of a bit of a nod.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if Nolan's a big Tarkovsky head, but anyways, it just proof that he's a crypto communist. No, but
fucking Ruskies, dude.
Fucking pinkos. Fucking made. I walked out of the movie.
Yeah, dude. As soon as they showed that communist bitch's tits, I walked out of there.
Like, can we just address really fast? Like, I like see what he's doing, what he was trying to do, and I appreciate it. But it's so fucking corny to me that the fucking Bhagavad Gita quote is fucking said in the way it is.
I hate that. It's weird.
He says it as he's like entering a woman, right?
Yeah. I don't think that's what happened.
You know, honestly, I want to fact check that. I don't think that's actually how it went down.
No, dude. Bro, if I was in that bomb making operation, it definitely would have gone down like that. I'll tell you that much, dude. But
dude, that's because you would have been the fucking communist informant. I would have been
the fucking British bastard, yeah. That's facts, dude, honestly.
Yeah, dude, the I'm kind of with you, like the imagery and like I was expecting more of like I don't know, like some Tree of Life type shit, right?
Yeah, dude.
Fucking, if we're talking Tarkovsky, The Mirror, right? Like some impressionistic type shit, right? And you got that a little bit in the beginning, right? And I'll say the parts of the movie where they kind of do that,
they do the radiation stuff, like the
radiation stuff, and like in my mind, the two most impressive visual parts of the entire movie, which aren't the fucking bomb, by the way, is the bomb scene, by the way, isn't a visually impressive feat. It's an impressive feat of sound design.
Yeah,
because it did
sound good. Yeah,
yeah, dude, it hits that shit. It hits. Yeah, I'm not even.
You're just waiting on it to hit them too. Like every time it shows a new group of people, you're like, oh, it's coming.
Right. The best visual parts were the speech he gives after the bomb. And the scene with his wife and him in the interrogation room, and she like imagines him fucking the woman in front of her.
Oh yeah,
that was like genius. Like that was really good.
I like that.
And then the speech right at Los Alamos was really great, and I love how when he's walking away, the people kind of like lavishing him with adoration and praise and all that. When they're kind of out of focus, they also look like people like desperately clawing at him for help. And it's
some
just
of them were like bawling afterwards, like when it shows him on retrospect when he's leaving.
Right, and like that's just like good old fashioned camera work, baby.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, I think that was pretty good. I liked the way they did that. I liked the movie. I think it was constructed well. I think there was good scenes in it. It's just, yeah, I just feel like I was let down because I expected something differently. Um, I thought that the explosion was going to be a little bit cooler. I think that I think that
I
David
want that.
Lynch did
I
better.
like, kind of want that to be the title of the episode.
I thought the explosion was going to be cooler. But honestly, I did, dude. And then I thought there was going to be a bunch of like cool stuff about them splitting the atom and like all the fusion, but instead it just all came in like the form of notifications off a fucking telegram. They were just like, oh, by the way, they figured this out. And then like you fast forward in the movie and it's like, oh, they figured this out. And you fast forward. There was no like, I don't know. I thought there was going to be footage of the experimentation of figuring this stuff out and like, you know, the machinery they were using, stuff like
Yeah,
that.
like use some of those like effects you see in the beginning of the movie of like
Yeah.
the waves and shit to like
Mhm.
kind of demonstrate. I don't know, like it's like I'm of two minds with that because that starts to get dangerously close to the line of being like annoying Reddit science shit where you're like, oh, like you can't, thanks for coming to the movies, we're gonna teach you about science now.
Yeah,
And I would have like booed and thrown popcorn at the screen, but at the same time I like kind of get what you're saying.
yeah. I mean, I don't want to see you like. I don't want you to break it down to me. You know what I mean? I don't need to understand what's happening. I want you to just show me like the physical, like, you know, what are they looking at when like they figure out the fission or whatever? Like, what did that look like? Like, was there, you know, were they looking through this sort of like microscope thing, like the kind of stuff like
Well,
that?
actually,
just
that's a deleted scene I heard. Is Florence Pugh is naked on top of him, and she like puts his dick in her, and she's like, "This is how fission works."
Holy shit.
Dude, I don't like that broad. I
No.
don't know that I like that broad anymore. Have you seen these? I came up on my YouTube. There's just like an interview with the two of them, and I don't watch this fucking garbage, right? But the thumbnail, I just had to look at it. Like Cillian Murphy, the guy who plays Oppenheimer, is just sitting there looking like a normal dude, and she's just like, I don't mean to be mean, but she's gained like 30 pounds, and she's got like a shaved. She's looking like Sinead O'Connor working at Krispy Kreme.
Fuck, dude.
And she's got
R.I.P.
she's got the fucking she's got the fucking nose ring, and like it's a mess.
Yeah, this
She's
broad's
a mess.
crazy, dude. I don't know
She is
what's
crazy.
gone to her head. She got in like Little Women and then all of a sudden was like, yeah, I'm a feminist icon. I'm gonna fucking chop my hair up and mutilate myself and look like a maniac.
Dude, Greta Gerwig strikes again.
Dude, R.I.P. They've taken a lot of great women from us, bro. By making them just like mutilate themselves. Anyways, Florence Pugh looked like a thumb in this movie. I didn't really love it. She's built crazy. I don't know what it is, but she's
built like a
crazy.
dwarf, dog. She's built like fucking Gimli, dude. It's fucking gender bending Gimli and Legolas romance.
Yeah, I think she's got a pretty enough face. Like I think she's pretty. But
Yeah, she's attractive, sure.
She's built weird, and I didn't know that until this movie. And then I saw this movie, and I was like, whoa. I don't know. It turned me off of her quick. I mean, but she's a fine actress.
Emily Blunt's, you know, she's got it though. I mean,
oh yeah, she's attractive.
Which I have to say, I liked that her character is like a miserable cunt for the entire fucking movie.
Yeah.
And then that scene in the third act, that in my mind, that's when the third act actually convinced me to give a shit about it. Is like when they trot her in to talk in the interrogation, and she just like rips into the guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that, right? Because it's not even an appeal to the power of love or anything like that. It's like an appeal to an institution of marriage.
Yeah. Well, the institution of marriage and a strong woman, like within the marriage, like how that works to propel people to success. Like that kind of like dynamic power couple kind of thing going on there.
It was pretty basic, to be completely honest.
Definitely, dude. I think the third act is largely about her because, like what you're saying, like it highlights that, and then she's also like pushing him to. She pushes him a couple times throughout the movie to you need to be a man. You need to like stand up for yourself. You need to fight back. You need to like take ownership of this project. You need to do that. She's like trying to make him actually like live up to the role that he's expected to be. And I think that's a really strong quality in a partner and in a relationship and a woman, etc. But also for them to show that in the movie, I think they did a good job with that.
I think the two characters that are like protagonists in the third act of the movie that are actually like dealing with the conflict are Strauss's lawyer and Oppenheimer's wife.
Yeah, definitely. Strauss's lawyer, yeah, I think there's a little slimy son of a bitch. Lawyers, bro, can't trust
but he ended up being a good guy, right? Strauss's lawyer, because he's rooting for the good side at least.
Oh, I'm thinking about the aide. I'm thinking that's the aide. I thought the lawyer. Oh, you're right. I'm thinking about the lawyer that they hired, that Strauss hired for.
That guy who's like he's kind of like the go-to evil white man in movies.
yeah.
Which is funny because he like looks to be kind of like Irish American.
Definitely, he's a Mick, no doubt.
He's he's a little micked up. But I mean, that's just, gets to play the heel in every movie. That's just the luck of the Irish, but
so true.
Yeah, so true. And anyways, yeah, the wife is cool. I mean, in that scene in the end where fucking Benny Safdie tries to shake his hands, and she's just like, "Fuck you."
Yeah,
that was pretty cool. Also, I love like my fashion goals is to basically just be Einstein. Einstein's just this schlubby vagrant who just like appears out from behind cars randomly.
Yeah, and just loses his hat all clumsily and goofily.
He just spends his days just hanging out, tossing rocks into ponds,
trying to figure out gravity and shit.
and people are just kind of like, yeah, whatever, Einstein. And he's just looking like Rocky's coach.
Mm-hmm. Dude, that's what I feel like a good intellectual, famous person should do with their time, instead of going around like Neil deGrasse Tyson doing his bullshit everywhere. Like, just go hang out by a lake, throw some rocks, be goofy, like be someone that people respect, and then like can come to and ask questions when they need to. But like, don't go out there and go on podcasts talking about the most ridiculous bullshit and like trying to just shove your view down people's throats.
Do you see this like new Neil deGrasse Tyson just dropped?
What's it about?
He goes on some podcasts that's talking about, I mean, he's just pushing like gender ideology now. It's really funny, dude.
Oh, dude, I think I saw that actually. There was like a detransitioner that got in an argument with him or something.
I don't even know about that. He went on somebody's podcast and he was just like, well, today, like, I wake up feeling 80% feminine. And so I'm going to, and it's like, and chromosomes don't, they don't explain this, blah, blah, blah. Which is funny because then at the same time, fucking, I guess Richard Dawkins just released it.
I saw that, dude. That son of a bitch.
That son of a bitch. Well, okay, so this next thing I'm about to say, so I need this to be listenable to the audience. So for anybody that doesn't know, Richard Dawkins published a book against trans ideology, right? Which is funny. I mean, it's probably time to get off the atheism train, I would imagine.
Definitely.
And I don't know if the next thing I'm going to say is true or if it was just a made up 4chan post that I'm quoting. But I think he's also like now like making statements about how like our society needs some like grounded Christian principles or else this shit takes over.
Whoa, is that real?
I don't know. I don't fucking know. I shouldn't even be saying it, to be honest.
But his new book is like The Poetry of Life or some shit like that.
That sounds like he's going in that direction.
Right, that's what I was thinking when I first saw it, but I didn't know. Yeah, I don't know. He's a fucking sick piece of shit, dude. I mean, other than his recent pivot, I guess maybe he's finally coming to the light, but he's been a real staunch defender of the fucking this materialist, mechanical worldview for the longest time. His fucking breakthrough book, The Selfish Gene, is just full of shit. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Richard Dawkins, but I saw that was one of the things. I think my algorithm, like I told you, is they're just trying to make me upset. And so they're like, all right, Richard Dawkins, trans stuff, put it together. And that was one of the things on my MSN the other day.
It's fucking bingo board shit, dude.
Honestly.
I mean, dude, it's one of these it's one of these things, man, where it's just like you know, as a Christian, I forgive him, right?
Of
And
course.
like as a political actor, I guess, like, cool, welcome to the right side. But also, like, ultimately, it's just like, dude, fuck you. Like, you made your bed, man. Like you engineered one of the earlier strains of this shit. Like, you know, people aren't going to fucking accept you over here. Nobody gives a fuck about you anymore.
Right.
And like, you know, new atheism morphed in. Well, I mean, the funny thing is, new atheism kind of morphed into the far left and the far right online.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I fuck him, right? But also, I forgive him. So
I
the
was
duality of
Googling,
Slav.
I was just Googling about Richard Dawkins to see like what you were talking about, and I'm seeing an article here about his ex right hand man converts to Christianity. Quote, Jesus is who he says he is. But nothing about Richard.
Yeah, I don't know. It was
Hopefully he
literally.
comes around.
Yeah, I mean that'd be nice. I mean, it'd be good for him. But yeah, um, yeah. God bless him. You know.
Yeah. I think that we need good scientists. I think science is fine. You know what I mean? I just think that like doing this kind of thing, like he did and made his whole nut on for years and years, is not fine. Where it's essentially taking a very anti-scientific, anti-curiosity, anti-knowledge view and just sticking to very dogmatic, strict notions of life and of reality. I think that that's probably a wrong course as far as in science, but I think that we need to have people who are like maybe like Oppenheimer, not making bombs ideally, but people who are, you know, out here trying to understand the universe in a better way. And I think that it takes both religion and science to like figure that out. Like I think that I'm not saying that science is going to tell us like what the meaning of life is or anything, but I think that it's obviously important. It's helped bring us to where we are. So I think that like a good meshing of the two, but in their own respective places, is a good way forward.
Yeah, yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd agree with that. But I will say, scientists are on fucking notice. Okay.
I mean, dude, yeah, most of them are on notice for sure. I mean, all of them are on notice, but most of them are really fucking up out there.
Yeah, no, thin ice, you little bitches.
Speaking of scientists that are fucking up, I guess we could talk a little about COVID because that was a major fuck up.
Such a good segue.
Yeah, hard segue on scientists are fucking up, and they fucked up COVID too, and they basically fucked up our entire lives for 3 or 4 years.
And they fucked up the minds of children for forever.
Forever.
Yeah. What? LeBron James's son had a heart attack from his annual flu shot.
Well, yeah, they're thinking that that's what caused it. I mean, not like the mainstream media or anything, but people are speculating in our side of things that's what caused it. Because I mean, he's a young man. He's obviously got the best doctors paying attention to him because his fucking dad's LeBron James, world-renowned athlete, lots of money, and he's going into the college basketball. He's a D1 athlete, so he shouldn't just drop down and have a heart attack, have heart issues, have cardiac issues. And yet he did. And I think he's indicative of a broader wave of these things that have been happening. But I think that because he's such a high profile name, I think that's kind of what sparked this debate at like a more mainstream level.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. As a quick side note, like, what's up with fucking famous people and naming their kids retarded shit? Like,
oh my god, I hate it.
Bronny, what the fuck? That's like a Army Hammer.
Yeah,
like, get the fuck. Your name's LeBron, so you name your kid Bronny. I honestly saw the headlines and I thought it was a nickname for LeBron James, and I thought LeBron James had fucking heart failure.
You're like, oh, LeBron James went full gay. Okay, he's going by Bronny now.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, I mean, so I mean, what do you think of this? I mean, there's been quite a lot of these in the last like 2 years. I think like I don't know. I mean, there's obviously a hazard. I'll say this, right? I'll give enough credit to the counterpoint to say this up front. There's like a big hazard in attributing way too many things to this. Okay. Um,
Definitely.
Now I'll say this. Okay. I know I know personally about 5 people who have developed uh, pericarditis or myocarditis from the vaccine alone, right?
Hmm.
5 people. That's fucking insane. Okay, and I'm talking like hospital visits kind of shit. Okay, I don't really know of anybody, and I know it's hard to know for sure. I don't really know of anybody who died. Okay, I personally don't. Um,
You mean
I
from
like
COVID or from the flu shot?
well both.
Okay.
Um, and I'm not nobody hates this shot more than your boy does here. Okay, but I will say because I just can't help it. I got a little bit of skepticism to some of the really doomsaying predictions and thoughts around this topic. That's what I'll say. Um, and so, it's a little bit of a hazard to attribute it to way too many things. Having said that, I think Elon Musk actually said this, and I think it's like fairly well said, where it's just like, you can't attribute it to everything, but it's like we can't, attribute it to nothing too, right?
Yeah.
Like we know that it has some kind of effect. We basically know that like this argument that COVID causes it at higher rates is complete bullshit. The heart stuff. I mean, so yeah, I don't know. That's kind of my introductory, take on it. It's like simply crazy the amount of just even anecdotal experiences people I know have had with it.
Yeah.
Um, and I really tend to believe that's what happened in this case. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that that's for sure what happened. I think that people have weird medical conditions all the time, right? I think that things come out of the blue. And I think when you're pushing your body to the limits like these professional athletes are, even if you are a very healthy person, you are probably putting stress on parts of your body that it's maybe not quite ready for. And that's why you have to take all these extra measures to be healthy. And so I think that that probably ties into it a bit. I think there's always been a history of these freak accidents, injuries, deaths within sports. But I definitely think that they are more prevalent now. Um, I think just because of my own personal leanings on the COVID vaccine and stuff like that, I am obviously partial to believe that this is probably because of that. I don't know though. I have no insider knowledge on it. I don't know anything like that. But I definitely think that like paying attention to these kind of things is important because I think that there's not going to be any type of long-term studies on the COVID vaccines because they had canceled those basically. There's not going to be really any accountability for this stuff unless people question it. So I think that someone like a young athlete, especially a prominent one, the son of LeBron James, etc., getting this, heart cardiac arrest while they're young, beneath 21 years old. I think he's like 18 or 19 years old. That's crazy. And so, yeah, we should definitely look into it. We should definitely bring it up as a topic of conversation and say that it definitely could have been from the vaccines, especially when you look and you see that these things are happening in higher rates. And it's not just athletes. I mean, what was it a couple years ago? Astro World, big music festival in Texas, I think in Houston or somewhere like that. Where did you hear about that? I'm sure you did.
Yeah, the fucking people that got killed.
Yeah, there was like 8 to 10 people that died because like there was a big crowd and there was like it was surging, whatever. But 10 people died, young people, from cardiac arrest, not from like being stomped on, not from being stampeded over, from having a heart attack or cardiac arrest in those conditions. And so I think that obviously there's a lot of other things in play and that people die in crowds a lot. But that's something to be looked at too. There's just young people that are having heart issues all over the place, and it could definitely be from a vaccine that was rushed, that wasn't given proper vetting, and then that was then forced upon people who didn't want to take it, regardless of their individual health situation. And I think that we should be looking at every instance where there could be any related health concerns or long-term issues from that.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think that it's people are also just getting, like, young people are having a lot of issues. You're just getting a lot of unhealthy kids, and this isn't even really about the vaccine, but like from the way we, like, there are so many kids with diabetes, there's so many kids with crazy medical issues that fucking children shouldn't have. And so that's like another thing too that's not related to the vaccine, but the medical industry and how we view health in general, where it's like we need to be paying more attention to the health of our country. And I don't think that we really do in any type of meaningful way that's actually prioritizing the well-being.
Well, yeah, of course we care about that. We're destigmatizing obesity.
right. Like, we have the worst answers for it. We have the excess positivity, pouring gasoline on the fire thing. You know, it's where, oh, there's too many fat people. Well, it's good to be fat, actually. We shouldn't
say yes to that. Say yes to it.
More, yes, more, and more food, and yes, fat, and let's make airplanes bigger while we're at it, and let's do this shit.
Being fat is healthy, and you might disagree or have evidence to the contrary, but you have to ask yourself if it's worth losing your job over.
Right. That's pretty much everything nowadays, of being fat, being trans, being whatever. So
don't even get me started on the fat trannies, the healthiest of us all.
I mean, let's be honest, that's a lot of them.
Yeah, Florence Pugh.
Oh, fuck.
Dude, she's on notice.
Yeah, Florence Pugh's on notice now. That's so true. I think she's like married to Dak Prescott. Not Dak Prescott. That's a QB. Dak Shepard.
Oh no, that's Kristen Stewart.
Okay. Never mind. I'm thinking of someone different. Never mind. But anyhow, yeah, she's on notice, Florence Pugh. If you're in Little Women, you're on notice, I feel like. If you have anything to do with Greta Gerwig, you're on notice.
If you ever even had a conversation with Greta Gerwig, you're done. You're done! You're done in my book. You're blacklisted. I'm not going to cast you in These People Are Sick films, ever.
Never. That's not happening for you.
Sorry, not happening.
We'll go out there and get that broad from The Mandalorian that got kicked off.
Loretta Scott King, I think.
Yeah. That brought with the big knockers. I don't remember her name, but yeah, she was like kicked off of there. And then also that guy maybe from Sound of Freedom, we get him too, Jim Caviezel.
Yeah, the Caviezel.
The Caviezel.
Dude, we should get Caviezel on the podcast.
If he would come on, I definitely would like that.
There's zero chance he would, but that reminds me, dude. Okay, so we're two down. And we got one to go. We got to watch Sound of Freedom, which I'm pretty sure we lost our here. I'm going to look up.
I'm sure you can rent it if it's not in
theaters. 100% show time. I just want to see if it's on the silver screen. Oh yeah, I guess it still is.
Yeah, do a little consumer activism. Go see it in the theaters.
Yeah, go see it at the old AMC. We've been going to like the budget theater, and so it does hurt a little bit to like spend twice as much, which definitely Sound of Freedom is gonna be. But what are you gonna do?
I feel like the AMC's really upped their prices ever since they got all like the GameStop and like that kind of clout from that whole thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm going to look at prices right now. Fandango. Come on.
Dude, Fandango is such bullshit.
Fandango is such fucking bullshit.
Dude, all those companies that just do nothing except for a middleman. What are we doing? Why do we have those kind of things?
Well, and it's just like, dude, like, you would think that like it would bring the fucking price down because it's like consolidated, but you don't even get that, right? You don't even get that one little fucking thing.
It's more usually because they put a fucking fee on there. It's the only way they make their money, except for
because they got to pay all these fucking cat ladies. Oh my god, dude! An adult ticket for a non-fucking matinee is $19.41.
What the fuck? No, dude,
God,
that's
imagine
bad.
paying that for fucking. This is a ticket for the Meg 2. Actually, to be fair, I would see the Meg 2.
Is that about the shark?
Yeah, that's about the shark. And no, it's about Meghan Markle. It's actually a metaphor for Meghan Markle.
It kind of is, dude. Yeah.
Also, dude, I'm looking at Fandango and I see just like a picture of Casey Affleck. The fact that Casey Affleck was just in a funny twist, the like super anti-communist general made me laugh out loud in Oppenheimer for some reason. I don't know why. Just this guy that women hate because they're like, oh, he's problematic and like apparently he's a creepy guy, and they have it be like a twist reveal that he's like
yeah.
It just cracked me up, dude.
Yeah, I forgot he was even in that. There was a bunch of just weird small characters.
Yeah, Rami Malek is in it for some reason. That guy looks like a gerbil.
Yeah, I guess they just like left his jaws like that after he did the Queen movie. They were like, let's just make his face look crazy and then just leave him. They didn't put him back.
Dude, Sound of Freedom 72 on Rotten Tomato from critics, 99 from audience.
Oh yeah, that's the shit. What I look at now is the Google users, really, because it's just normal folks. You're going on there, you're putting the like or you're putting the dislike or whatever. So yeah, I'll just Google it and then it'll say it right here. 96% like this movie for Sound of Freedom. So I think that's probably pretty good. I would rather go with what just regular people are thinking than like what these sickos that are paid to write for IMDb.
Well, generally it goes like this. There's two ways it goes. Either the Rotten Tomatoes score is accurate and it's like the best thing to follow, or it's just like the least accurate, most fucked
right
metric possible.
It's just inflated for no reason because there's some gay shit in the movie or whatever.
Yeah, so yeah, we got Sound of Freedom, or of course we could always veto this and go see Disney's Haunted Mansion.
Kind of about the same thing, really.
There's just like an adrenochrome room.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, dude.
I don't think I'll ever go see another Disney movie in my life. I just don't think
I mean, once they start getting the teal bucks and they do like the next Disney princess is like the Red Scare Girls or something.
Yeah, he lets me fully flip.
Maybe I'll see it then, but yeah, no, I mean Disney's just a fucking piece of shit, dude.
Yeah, once being based is fully cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. What's up with this Phoebe Waller-Bridge broad? You know who I'm talking about? This Fleabag chick?
No, I don't know that. I know Phoebe Bridgers. I don't know Phoebe Waller.
Is Phoebe Bridgers that annoying musician?
She sings. Yeah, she
sings.
Yeah.
No, Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Look up this chick. Okay, she's in every fucking movie that you don't like.
Oh, I think I know her. I feel like she kind of looks like a little bit like a bird.
Yeah, she looks like she's a real bird brain, if you ask me.
She was in what, Fleabag? I don't know Fleabag.
Honestly, I think there's nothing wrong with having a birthmark, but for her, I don't like it.
She's got a birthmark? Oh, okay, I see it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think it's fine. I mean, God bless you. You're built the way you should be, so embrace it, flaunt it, do what you will, play to your strengths.
Yeah, but for her, it's not okay.
Yeah, for her, it's a big no.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to see her.
Yeah, man, I think that this thing where we're going to see a movie and do a little review on a movie, that's a nice way to kind of like settle into an episode. So let's do Sound of Freedom. Let's maybe try to keep it going.
Dude, absolutely. Also, really fast, I just learned she's married to Martin McDonagh, which is really sad because Martin McDonagh is like based. He did In Bruges and and all that shit. And he's cool. And it makes me sad that he's married to this fucking bird. Anyways, whatever.
Dude,
also Martin McDonagh looks like Sting.
Yeah, he looks a little goofy. He's got the tooth gap going too.
I do
respect that.
He looks like somebody did a face smash of Sting and George Floyd.
Dude, I didn't even know about this guy, and now I'm looking at his movies, and he made 3 Billboards outside of Ebbing, Missouri.
Yeah, 3 Billboards was good.
That's a pretty good movie, yeah. Yeah, I like that movie. Anyhow, what are we on? Oh, COVID shit, dude. Okay, so we talked a little bit about the vaccine stuff, and, always I think that's always important to keep an eye on. I don't have any good ends with science or anything, so I have nothing to add on that. I have nothing to, just pointing out that.
Well, here, I'll tell you this: I do have great ins with science right now, and it's bad. All my science boys hate this shit. I know all the big heavy hitters, dude. A lot of people that were on Epstein Island, they're not getting it. Okay. I don't fucking know, dude. There was a British study that came out recently that I've been seeing people quote. That's like 35% of the cases studied. In their study had developed a heart condition after the vaccine, which is insane, right? 35%. Again, I don't know. We're going to see, but I think this is a situation where we're going to be playing the long game. We're going to be playing the long game, and I know a lot of people that I love that got it, that I, obviously I'm going to be praying this doesn't happen to, and I don't want to be hoping that bad shit. I'm torn, right? Because, okay, I'll be fucking honest, right? Because this is the situation. Of course I fucking hope that we're proven right about this, right? But at the same time, in a much more real, much more grounded in my actual fucking life way, I hope people aren't fucking hurt by this,
Yeah.
More than they already have been. Yeah. I don't know. I'm glad I didn't have it. This mRNA stuff, as I understand, is stuff that you can pass on to your children. So I'm really glad that me and my lady, haven't gotten it. And it's funny because I'm just I'm struggling with words to describe my fiance because I don't want to use fiance, but I can't say she's my wife yet. So I'm just the lady. My lady. It's just weird.
Yeah, that's funny.
But yeah, man. So, that's my take on it. And with this topic, we know that we'll get a strike on YouTube. I don't know. Fuck. I don't know if we'll get a strike on YouTube. I don't know if we'll get a strike on YouTube, but we might get a warning or just have it get taken down.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. If I don't think they will, though, because we haven't even said anything too particularly crazy. I don't know. I don't know what you can even say anymore. I don't know what you can say anymore, and it'd be fine. It's changing every fucking day. So I don't.
It's not as bad as it was. So that's what I'll say.
What do you think caused that? Do you think that cultural pushback has caused it? Do you think that the downsizing the tech industry is causing that? Do you think that it's Elon Musk has gone over Twitter and changed it over there, so other places are kind of what do you think is
what's caused it?
Yeah. You think they actually are hearing people get pissed about censorship?
We're not in an election. We're not in an election year now,
but we kind of are. I mean, we're not in an election year.
Honestly,
we're giving up
2024 isn't even real, dude. The only sign that an election is happening is that people on the right hate Ron DeSantis. That's basically it, dude. Democrats are just they're a girl in an unhappy relationship, just agreeing to go along with sex or something, right? They're just okay, yeah, I guess we're gonna do it now.
We'll fake the excitement when time for voting comes around.
Exactly, and they're past even faking the excitement. It feels Yeah. So yeah, I mean, whatever, dude. 2024 is fucking gay. Maybe it'll be DeSantis just by default if this stuff with Trump actually takes. I don't think it will, to be honest.
Oh yeah, you were talking about before this episode started. You were talking about Trump getting indicted again for a third separate case.
Yeah, I mean, who even gives a shit, dude? It's about he tried to pressure somebody apparently to lie about the election results. As far as the election goes, I mean, we're just lily padding from one
one topic that's going to get us a fucking strike on YouTube to another.
I'll just say this: if you know, you know. Okay, if you know, you know.
Yeah,
okay?
real heads know.
Real heads fucking know, and we were there literally from day one with our stream. Okay,
man, what a nightmare.
Yeah, it's wild, and just the construction of reality around this. Anyways, I'm not gonna fucking go there. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's gonna work. You know, I think that the people that like him fucking like him, and the people that don't like him build their identity around not liking him.
Yeah, so you take him away, and there's nothing.
Yeah, and I think that like a lot of normies, which makes up a lot of the electorate, are people that basically just like don't want any trouble, and they've been poisoned on Trump because they just like don't want any trouble, and he's trouble.
Yeah.
But you know, I don't think it's going to matter. I don't really think it's going to be DeSantis. If it is DeSantis, it's just because by some weird chance this actually made a difference.
You're saying people on the right hate DeSantis? What is that?
Yeah, there's a lot of people. Or... I thought we had talked about this already. Yeah, I don't know. Just like the dissident right generally hates him. And
okay, sure. You mean the dissident right more so? I was just wondering because I feel like there are people that were on the dissident right that really liked DeSantis for a moment there. You know, there was a lot of pushing of DeSantis as kind of like the guy, at least from like, I don't know, this kind of post-left bubble dissident right kind of area that popped.
Wait, repeat that? Sorry.
I feel like there was a lot of energy going in the direction of DeSantis like a year ago or so. So
yeah, there was. And then I think the problem was, I mean, this is the sad thing to me is like, okay, yeah, is DeSantis kind of a Fed? Yeah, sure. Right. Like he tortured people at Gitmo, right? He's skull and bones. Right. But like, again, like he did great with COVID for the most part. Right. Like I was up on him, right. For a while. The problem is that he just ran for president when he shouldn't have.
Yeah.
And so now it's like he's running in direct conflict with Trump. What's the point? You know, why did you do this, man? Why did you do this? I don't know. I really don't know. So
yeah, we don't need to speculate on it too much more. We've talked about DeSantis enough. I was just wondering. I feel like I hadn't heard you say explicitly that the right was hating him. I mean, I knew that like.
Oh, it's unbelievable! It's unbelievable the amount of hate he's getting online.
Interesting. Is it because he's going against Trump? Like you said, he's running at the wrong time, and people are frustrated about him trying to split the base, or is it just because he loves the Jews, or like what is this deal?
Well, I mean, yeah, the Israel stuff definitely. I don't even know, man. I mean, I think the biggest thing, I'm not going to act like I'm some like, policy wonk about it. I do just think, oh, damn. Ooh, need another cup of coffee. Sorry, hold on. I just like in mid-sentence just needed to stretch and yawn. And for the audience, I'll have you know, by the way, after someone commented about this on Twitter, you know who you are. I haven't been playing fucking videos while we're recording, all right?
Oh, really? You've changed.
Yeah, someone made a comment of being like, it seems like you don't give a shit when you're doing that. And it's like, all right, that's fair, dude. I don't want to disrespect it.
Nice.
I've turned over a new leaf. This is SLAV. No, honestly, I genuinely think it just comes down to like, yeah, he's just opposing Trump now. Like, fuck him.
Yeah.
I think that's basically it. And I think that's a good way of looking at it. I think that people get a little crazy about it. I think he's a Fed. I don't hate him that much. But it's just like, yeah, when he's standing in the way of your guy, like, fuck him. He's an enemy now. So having that clarity is probably a good thing. But yeah, so I don't know. Well, honestly, one of the more interesting topics that I want to consider is who Trump would choose as a running mate.
Oh yeah, dude, I didn't even think about that actually. I was wondering who the fuck Biden was going to choose and if it's just going to be Kamala again, which I assume it probably will be. But
dude,
Trump.
I mean, the thing is that it's like you can't get rid of her.
Right? You can't boot her and add a white guy.
It reminds me of like in Curb Your Enthusiasm when like Larry wants to dump his like black GF. and then like he goes to do it, and she gets right when he's about to do it, she learns she's like been diagnosed with cancer.
Oh god.
And he's like, oh fuck, and he's like stuck with her for like another season.
Yeah.
Except without the cancer, and it's just the fact that she's black.
Stuck with her for another cycle.
Yeah, exactly. And so
but what about Trump though? I don't know. I don't even know who would be someone smart to add on there.
Okay, here's my take, and this is pretty much just based on optics and culture. Again, fuck being up to date on policy when making these kinds of predictions. I think Tulsi Gabbard would be kind of smart.
Whoa. Do you think that would happen though? You think that's something in the realm of possibility?
Yeah, I do. I mean, she left the party. She's been quiet lately. Is one of the strategic...
she left the Democrats?
Yeah. Okay. She was filling in for Tucker for a few nights, if you remember that. No. She literally hosted Tucker's show.
That's wild.
Yeah, it was kind of cool.
Is she still a politician? Is she still an active politician?
It's a good question. I don't think so anymore.
Okay.
But, yeah, former.
Okay. So she is just kind of hanging out right now in the loading, hanging out in the lobby.
Yeah, she's just chilling.
Then yeah, I think that makes sense, dude. Because I think that's typically how it goes. Like someone is just a little bit.
Keep your powder dry before the season. You keep your powder dry before the. She left the Democratic Party October of last year. Okay. So I think that one of the things about Tulsi is like, I think that she kind of generally has the optics of being like, just like trying to be kind of chill and not crazy. Right.
I'm from Hawaii. We take things at a slower pace.
Exactly. And I'm not saying that this is actually accurate, right? I have neutral to slightly negative views of Tulsi Gabbard, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But I kind of just don't trust her, right?
No, she seems slimy to me. But she's interesting because of that, but also because of all of her movement, like on the political spectrum, and then also how many people she frustrates. And so she's an interesting political character on the chessboard.
And so I think the chillness optics would be a smart thing for Trump.
Mm-hmm. And she's ethnic woman. So, I mean, that you can't really say a whole lot about, he's just
she's based Kamala.
Yeah, right. Yeah, she's literally just like the base Kamala. I don't even know who else you could put on there. Candace Owens would be like the other flip side of that.
I don't like that broad, man. That broad has crazy eyes.
Yeah, dude. All these people do, honestly. These people all have either nothing behind the eyes or the worst, most crazed look in their eye. Something's powering them from beneath their skull. Yeah, I don't know. I think that Tulsi Gabbard's a really good call that I didn't even think about. I didn't even know she left the Democratic Party. I know that Democrats don't like her. I'm seeing now that she's got a bunch of stuff written about her on The Hill.
Dude, you know what would be another thing? As a side note, not to cut you off, sorry. But her whole big thing was just absolutely destroying Kamala in the debate stage, right?
Yeah.
And so if they did vice president debates,
I don't think they're going to do any debates though. I don't think they'll do, especially not if it's Trump. I don't think they're going to have a vice president debate or a president candidate.
Well, yeah, because that would be platforming a white supremacist.
Yeah, I think that Tulsi Gabbard's very interesting. I would actually like to see that ticket, man. Now that
I think it would be a smart move. I mean, who the fuck else would he do?
That's what I'm thinking. I didn't even have any thoughts until you mentioned her, and now I'm like, yeah, it's the perfect fit. I don't know who he could pick other than I don't know, just some fucking chump or Ron DeSantis, but that's not going to happen.
And I'll say by the way, there's probably a lot of rightoids that would fucking hate excuse me. Sorry. See, now I'm distracting myself slightly with Twitter. I need to stop. But at least I'm trying to enhance the show with that. I think that there's probably a lot of right-wingers that would probably seethe at that.
Definitely.
Crypto leftist. But
and I know people hate hearing this, but like I think she plays the game. I think she plays the game, and I don't think that it would be an L for the right necessarily to have a company man like her kind of thing going in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that she's a good move. I think she's also like a classic. I think there used to be a time in like the United States presidency when presidential candidates would add their opponent as like a vice president on their thing. I mean, I guess that Biden kind of did that with Kamala or whatever, but I think that it's not as common anymore.
Didn't Kennedy do that with Lyndon Johnson?
Yeah, exactly. So
Lyndon Johnson just went on to just be like a coomer that like fell in love with Kennedy's wife.
Yeah, like, no, for real, called her all the time, dude.
I love you, Jackie. I'm drunk and I'm a mess. Dude, Lyndon Johnson, like outside of like putting the Civil Rights Act in, which like, you know, there's some definite problems there. Lyndon Johnson's kind of fucking hilarious, man.
I'm gonna have to be honest on this, and it's gonna lose me my anti-base, you know, or my base credentials or whatever. But I'm not sold on this like anti-civil rights narrative. I don't know, like I've heard RN mention it, like we gotta trace it back to this and all that. I just don't. I've never been told what the specific things are that are in that bill that have like or that are really the problem, or like that are. It's
really simple. It's really simple. Actual meaningful reaction and measures against like air quotes woke stuff is ultimately not even legal because it's enshrined in law in the Civil Rights Act, right? So there was this was something I think even like the normies at the Daily Wire talked about recently on the set of The Chosen, right? There was a leaked set photograph. I don't know. It was leaked. Someone just posted online. It's not really a leak of a pride flag on the set.
Oh god!
Right, and people fucking spurged out, and the showmakers needed to make a statement that was like that doesn't necessarily like reflect like our views. It was just like someone on set, and people were just like, well, like you know, like our faith-based stuff is like being formed by people. Yeah, being formed by this group of people, and the fact is that like you can't just like select out for those people, you know, and have some level of like ideological uniformity on your stuff because that is completely against the law, right? You can have ethnic based patronage politics, right? But you literally cannot have it for white people, right? Now, I'm not even necessarily saying that that's my ideal form of politics, but like to actually meet the woke stuff head on, because of the Civil Rights Act, any like offensive against that legally has one hand tied behind their back, basically.
Like what's like. Is the language in the Civil Rights Act, does it cover like gay shit and stuff like that? Like what is the language? Is it nebulous?
Yeah, I think in the 80s or 90s, sexual identity became a protected class.
And so if you can keep adding protected classes, then they fall under the Civil Rights Bill.
Yeah, and basically the idea, like I think like probably like something more in line with like a good old boys take would be that like that like protected classes as outlined by the Civil Rights Act are basically just kind of like a coat of paint that you put over just like political patronage now.
Yeah, I mean, I remember that was the main thing.
Make it so that like your patronage networks just have legal protection and like legal authority like over others that are locked out of that.
Right, but I don't know. I just feel like that's a can of worms because, like, what's the alternative to having that? Like, what do you repeal the Civil Rights Act and then you have nothing, and then people can do race-based segregation and it's fine? And is that like is that the goal, or like is that kind of heading in that direction? Because it would be, I understand that it's like makes it so you can't combat the woke stuff because it's like this nebulous wording, and then they keep adding in these new groups that are not necessarily tied to historical oppression, etc. But like
it's the machine politics aspect of it. I think yeah, I mean, I'm not an expert in this, and I don't actually really know what people's arguments generally are on it, but I have to intuitively assume that like America demographically, right, is so different than every other fucking country on Earth, to where, you know, you can't really, maybe in some places you can, but like I don't really see segregating a lot of spaces. I mean, to be fair, I would have to say that there are good forms and bad forms of segregation, just given the example I gave earlier, right, about like The Chosen, right? Like, no, it should be Christians on set that don't believe things that are directly in conflict with the Bible, right?
Or like women's only spaces and not letting trans people in there. I mean,
yeah, whatever. Stuff like that, right? Exactly. Which again is another example of what I'm talking about, right? They literally cannot enforce that against trans people now, right? Legally, it's not allowed, right? But as far as like, you know, whites only dining areas and things like that, I just like don't even really know if that's organically a thing that's possible. You know, I don't know if you can even feasibly do that.
Now, it's happening with black only spaces and colored only, like it's happening with like POC spaces, and like it happens on the flip side of things currently.
That's true. And to your point then, right, to kind of flip where I'm coming at it from a little bit, the biggest impediment to chipping away at that, right, which we can kind of agree like that, you know, that's not our favorite thing in the world, is chipping away at the legal framework that makes it so that those spaces you're talking about that are black only or Hispanic, yada yada yada, those are like beyond reproach legally, right? And so chipping away at that. And then the only other thing that I would say would just be that I think that like the good aspects, you know, of the Civil Rights Act can probably be done piecemeal, you know what I mean, without needing to have you know, the bad shit we're talking about of like basically the protected classes. Because again, protected classes at this point, if this was like a video game, it's basically something that's been like effectively hacked and it's like not being used for its original,
right?
Or maybe it is its original
purpose. Feel like that's what the issue is a little bit more than, which I mean, I guess that's a different debate, but it's like I feel like what we're considering protected classes and what's being allowed into that is more so the issue than like the general grounds that you shouldn't be able to discriminate someone based on race or sex.
Right. And so then maybe like the idea of like, we don't want that, right? But this framing that the Civil Rights Act is the only way to combat that is probably a bad assumption.
Right. I just wonder like what is the right, like what, like in the Civil Rights Act, I'm pretty sure like some of the language verbatim is like you might discriminate anyone based on race or gender. Like that's basically like a.
But that also does directly contradict with the concept of like protected classes, which basically put forward like a state of constitutional exception for certain people that make them more equal than others. I
think you could take that away.
Yeah, out of the idea of like equity. Right.
Yeah. I just have some like, I don't know. It feels like it's a lot of really, really swampy, muddy terrain to get into when you start talking about like the issues in America because of the Civil Rights Movement or Civil Rights Act. And I think that like that framing, I'm not hesitant to explore it because I'm like, I don't want to be viewed a certain way or whatever, but I just don't think that, I think it opens the door for, I just don't think that I don't think it's a great political framing that's going to have a broad appeal with a lot of people. And I don't know that's the right way to do it.
The optics are obviously a difficult thing. I think that it needs to be understood as also like in the discourse as a reaction to like the James Lindsays of the world and like the IDW people whose whole response to like the woke religion shit has basically always just been to be like, well, what we need is more liberalism, right? And like they don't understand. I mean, first of all, no, but second, even if we are to buy their premises, like liberalism is basically fundamentally broken by enshrining this thing into law, right? It's like affirmative action or something, right? Like, and so instead of just doing the thing where we're chasing our tails ever since 2014, just making like SJW cringe compilations and how like we need to just have facts and logic, and thinking that that's going to save us against this inquisition that are going to burn us at the stake. Instead of that, people need to get serious about what's actually like mechanically at play here. Right. And what's mechanically at play is that just like the dissidents against that are at a legal disadvantage. And that like the things that they want are functionally impossible. Now, I feel like the disagreement between me and you is like, okay, well, I mean, do we tweak the Civil Rights Act, right? Or do we throw the whole thing out and then kind of reverse engineer some of the more positive aspects of it? I don't really know. I think that a big part of this simply is just the fact that it's literally called the Civil Rights Act. Yeah. And so it kind of does the framing of just being like, oh, so you're against civil rights. And that's not really what it is. It's just that like it's, you're playing Monopoly against somebody and somebody's just like, okay, well, I wrote into the rules that only half the rules apply to me. And all the harshest rules don't apply to me and my people that I choose to be on my team. I think also, well, and really quick, sorry, just as one more side note, like there's this concept of like concept creep, right? That concepts kind of bloat and need to grow so that they can remain like relevant. So so the idea of that for like racism, right? That like white supremacy used to just be like, we want to just like hang Negroes and burn crosses, right? But now it's like complimenting the black lady in your office on her hair is white supremacy, right? And I think that a feedback loop is formed with the way the Civil Rights Act is written, to where like they're going to basically continue to build identity categories to grow the patronage tent. And I think that's what happens with gender. I think that's basically what that's the whole joke with the LGBTQIA plus 2 spirit thing, right? Is that like that's the most direct example of what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's definitely true that like the civil rights movement was kind of like our new historical narrative, like our new guiding light. Yeah, since World War II, and then World War II was like since like maybe the freeing of the slaves, and then since that was like the revolution or whatever. But I think that that's apparent. I think that's true. I think that you're right about for a concept to still have legs and stay relevant, it has to keep morphing. And so like we've already moved past a lot of the racial issues, and so they have to kind of try to, we haven't moved past racial issues, but we've dealt with a lot of the legal issues that are present, and removed a lot of red tape, etc. And so they have to continue to find new classes. And I agree that it is building patronage networks, because like essentially like Martin Luther King, it's like, my people are going to vote for you forever. And, if you do this for us, and Democrats are like, yeah, we're going to be the party that does this or whatever. And so I get that that's a thing. I understand that that's how it ties in with that patronage network, and that now they create these new groups so they can then, say, protect this class, and then they can try to work them into the civil rights bill in order to create that network. I just wonder, like, how would you do something that couldn't be used in that way? Like, I think that anytime you're going to make something that's like, okay, well, we're not going to discriminate, based on whatever, there are groups that are going to be able to try to find ways to wield that and create more of these protected groups, whatever it is, even if the language is changed in the civil rights bill. So I just wonder, like, I just don't know what the solution is there, is what I wonder more so.
That's well, and that's true. And that's where, like, you know, honestly, this is a good thing to bookmark. And just like if and when we have Oren on again, asking that question, right? Because in my mind, it seems, I mean, this is almost kind of like a throwback to like my lib days, which I think it's not even like really a bad way of looking at it. Is like, there's kind of an absurdity to a certain extent to like really animated hateful racism, because it's just kind of like, why? Like, it doesn't even make sense, right? Like, why outside of some obvious things based on crime and things like that, like, why segregate people, based on reasons that don't have any, I guess, practical application. You know what I mean? I mean, right. Like, I have no reason, if I had a sandwich shop, right? And there were upstanding Asian members of the community. There's not really any reason that I am immediately aware of for me to just like absolutely refuse them service at my place,
right,
just because they're different, right? That problem to me seems easy to fix. And the idea that it needs to have this hydra attached to it, with all these nooks and crannies, the way that, I mean, and you kind of spoke to it, right? Like, that stuff almost to a certain extent inevitably happens. Like, the process of putting things into law is just people making these little nooks and crannies to put little bullshit into, right? I would still say that's not a reason to give up on it, right?
Sure.
But I mean, that's definitely a reason to maybe look past democracy. But as it currently stands, we also want to tweak things in the system as we currently have it. I think that protecting the hypothetical Asians or whatever that I outlined in my example, that doesn't seem like a really complicated thing to do, and it doesn't require, like I said, like this huge crazy hydra of state weaponization to accomplish. But that might be naive on my part. I don't totally know. And to your point, to your credit, of maybe being kind of skeptical here, like, it's also like the United States is so fucking huge that it's almost ungovernable. And so maybe I am being way too naive, and there will totally be places that this isn't adequate for. But I do think kind of like to what you were just saying of like, we're not dealing with racism, at least to the extent we were in the past. Like, I don't really think that racism is even such an issue these days to where we need this like legal state of exception, state intervention as a solution now. Like, there are solutions that need to be put in place, but I don't know if the infestation is so bad that we need to like call the fucking Orkin man to fucking bug bomb the house. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably true to a degree, but also I think that, I mean, I don't know. I think that there's also a surge of, I think that racism is still prevalent. I mean, I think that I don't think that it's like the mental mind virus that anti-racist rhetoric makes it out to be, and that it's like this prevalent thing. I don't think it encompasses what they call racism, etc. But I think that it's definitely still alive. I think that there's almost a revitalization of it amongst certain individuals, whether or not that's aesthetic or not. I think that that's something that's happening, and it's undeniable. And I think a lot of those same individuals are people who would also be in the same camp of people who would like to see the civil rights bill overthrown and changed. And I'm not saying that there's not good material reasons for that, like you've outlined here already, that I agree with perfectly as a political operative. Like, yeah, it definitely is something that builds a patronage network for a specific party. And I think that being able to view it that way, and then I understand the analysis of wanting to change it and do away with it. And I don't know that that's wrong. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying I'm generally kind of skeptical on it. I don't know. I don't know that, I think you're probably right. I like to think that we wouldn't need a law or whatever, but I think that like you also would like to think we wouldn't need a Bill of Rights. or anything, but countries do it because that's like part of the foundation of like.
Well, yeah, but the Bill of Rights is protecting us against the tyranny of the state, as opposed to like the tyranny of like a mind virus, like you're talking about, right? And we don't necessarily need to say that that racism is gone. It's just like racism. Does racism exist even close to the level today that it did at the time in the 60s, 50s, and 60s, right? And I would say a resounding no, right? Overwhelmingly, right? So, yeah, I mean, there might be a little bit of a resurgence, but I mean, even then, I don't think that it was probably the right solution for the job then, right? Because again, now, too, right? One thing that isn't being said in this conversation, too, is that, you know, this resurgence in racism, you know, the Civil Rights Act probably has some blame in that.
I mean, yeah, it's a reaction to all the additional bullshit for sure. It's a reactionary force.
100%, right? So
yeah, I mean, it's a dialectic. I just don't know. I don't know what you do to fix it. Like, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's good that there's people that are smarter than me thinking about it on a more, you know, of a legalistic manner or whatever. But to me, it doesn't seem like a great. I don't know. I was just not totally sold on it. I get it. But yeah, that maybe we'll just move on. Because yeah, I don't have anything for it.
Yeah. No, I mean, good talk on it though. I don't know either. I don't fucking know the solution really.
Right. I mean, I feel like I don't know. Just getting like bogged down in changing like just individual laws. I feel like it's just I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about, honestly. But I just don't know. I guess that's probably. I guess it's probably pretty right. It probably could get tweaked down. But I just don't know like how you do that or if that fixes anything. Because I feel like there's always going to be like until you address whatever this fucking big behemoth monster machine is of people that are kind of pushing forward the ideology that's allowing them to make these protected groups and continues to add that. I don't really see what's going to change by just changing one law. Like I just think it's going to be. I don't know that that's really going to solve it. It's just going to change forms, and it's going to figure out ways to morph itself so that it can be used for their benefit anyhow. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a condition that needs to be met before any actual I almost used reaction, but I don't necessarily want to use that word because that's kind of a bloated concept. But like response to the woke shit, you want to call it, the race-based patronage system. It's like a requirement before you can even go about actually dealing with it, I guess is a way of looking at it. It in itself isn't going to solve it, and I don't think anybody thinks it is. It's just like you can't take the first step without doing it, I guess. Yeah, at least according to a lot of people. From like I mean, again, this isn't even like a inspiring to people thing or like this is just machine politics, you know. Right. This is just the legalistic aspect of it, and so I think that it needs to kind of be understood in that way, especially because a lot of the people I know that are talking about this, I mean, this is like Bog Beef and Oren and people like that. These definitely aren't the kind of people that would do the thing where they like just say that stuff just to like be crazy sounding and get attention. Neither of them do that.
I think they genuinely are in it for they believe that as like a mechanism towards eliminating some of these issues.
Well, exactly. And so I think, I think that, I think that, it's, it's the kind of thing where I think it's being kind of approached in a dispassionate and utilitarian kind of way, in a smart way. But
yeah, I mean, that's definitely the best way to approach it. Any topic that's regarding this kind of thing, for sure. Especially
because it's on its face, it does sound so radioactive.
Right. I think that's kind of I think that's like I think that is off-putting for a lot of people. And so like when you have a political project that is kind of centering around that, it's a little bit difficult to bring people into the fold. It brings up a couple of red flags here and there. I think that's probably a little bit of like where my pushback with it is. Not even pushback, but just hesitancy with it. And then, yeah, I think also part of it's just like me just kind of still feeling like I just don't really know exactly who represents my interest and like where I'm falling on the political spectrum of things. Cause like,
this is another A+ segue.
Yeah, I guess so. Cause I feel like I get into these discussions and I'm like, yeah, and I guess that makes sense to me. And like, from a legalistic standpoint, I think that's probably right, but I don't really know. But it's just like, I worry about what kind of crowds that attracts into a political movement. I worry about what kind of doors that opens up, just as much as I'm worried about what kind of doors the bill itself has opened up. So it's like, I just don't know how to navigate that issue.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little bit less. I'm a little bit less concerned just about like the like building a club and what kind of element it's gonna attract. Just because like I don't. I do Big Ten, you know.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and the optics thing. The optics thing I'm less worried about also, just because, I mean, I don't know. There are examples, some big examples of like that stuff really mattering. Like, and I think the biggest example we can point to is Kanye, right? I mean, Kanye is one of the richest fucking men in the world, and he basically just got unpersoned by just like shacking up with like a right-wing poster. You know, like it can go quick, you know, and that stuff can be powerful. But at the same time, where I'm coming at it from is like our culture is like shattered. Like it's completely fucking shattered. There's no mainstream. It's just it's everything's splintered. There's no like what do I want to call it? Like mainstream, I guess, right? And so like whatever, right? I mean, you know, if you want to actually build like an effective, you know, coalition, you don't need to actually get that big of a chunk of the population, right? You just need to get like a reasonably sized chunk of it. Get 10% and get that to be a 10% that actually shows up to do something. You can take over a fucking country, right? So, you know, I don't know. The mainstream can't even agree with itself anymore.
Of course.
So I'm a little less concerned about the optics aspect of it these days, but I do get it. And yeah, I mean, we've even dealt with this, you know, ourselves of just, I mean, definitely of just like, you know, like, yeah, like communities can kind of circle the drain when you have people that are coming in that are really just interested in like being iconoclastic and subversive. And I think that that's a constant across the left and the right in a big way.
It definitely is majorly.
And that's an issue, right? But it's also in my mind that it can't be an excuse. It can't be an argument in favor of inaction. I think that everybody has their job to play, and I think that there are people that can enforce gatekeeping as their kind of task, and I think that can be useful.
Yeah, I just don't know. I don't know. I just don't know that it's done. Like, I don't know that the gatekeeping is done effectively on either side, as kind of evident of looking at where we're at now. To where I think that those kind of things are allowed to proliferate and take on a larger voice really within individual sides of politics. And maybe it's not conducive to building actual power, perhaps. But people, you know, iconoclastic individuals that come in with nefarious, you know, intentions or whatever, I think are going to be pretty all the time in politics on the left and the right. And yeah, I don't know. I understand what you're saying with the gatekeeping. I do think that I think that that's right. I just don't know that like I trust that that's happening in a meaningful way. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, no, and there's always going to be people that fall through the cracks.
Right. I don't know. I don't know. I just keep getting back to like, and this isn't about the civil rights thing a discussion anymore. This is just more so about the broader political spectrum. But I just keep getting back to like looking at what we've encountered with people on the right, and I'm not talking about the like NRX type people that we talk to or anyone that we really engage with at all. I'm talking specifically about broader things, broader groups of things that are attached to individuals on the right. I find a lot of really antisocial behavior and ideology coming out of those people, just as much so as out of the left. And I think that they are just as closely tied into the mechanisms of the right as they are to the ones of the left. And so when I start seeing this like movement of like, well, there's, some change on the right and there's this, and I get excited about, well, maybe there's some, leeway to insert some political ideas. But then I also start seeing like, yeah, but these people are still tied to this, they're still representative of this group that's like, there's a lot of just backwards thinking in it, as there is on the left, and it's propelled by a lot of it. And it's like, I'm interested in Trump because I think Trump is like shaking up the system, and he's a kind of like an outsider, and people hate him and stuff, so it creates instability in the system, and there's this and that. But there's also a lot of people who like Trump because of not the right reasons. And so it's like, I don't know. I know that's just a retarded take, but that's just like...
No, it's not a retarded take. I mean, one thing I've noticed is that, so since Elon has taken over Twitter, like Twitter, right-wing Twitter they've got a lot of people back, right? So, I mean, they've got a lot more right-wing bona fides, I guess I'll say now, right? If you understand what I'm saying. Like
definitely.
It's been emboldened, and that's good for a lot of them. But honestly, something's kind of happened with it. I've noticed is it's kind of a lot like the left now, in that because they're not completely under the boot entirely, they're like eating each other now. And like the biggest thing you'll see is just like instead of the equivalent where leftoids would be like, oh, like, that guy's a shitty dude who like messaged, women for nudes in group chat. You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? That whole song and dance where that would happen on the left. Now it's just like, oh, that guy is a Jew. That guy's a Jew. That guy's Jewish. He's fucking Jewish. Jew. And they're like killing each other, right? Like, and it's wild. And they're literally less functional now because of it. Yeah. And so I think like even outside of like a moralizing perspective on it,
it's a barrier to power.
Yeah, I mean it's literally dysfunctional,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, man, I don't know, and yeah, I mean to speak to some of the people you made like an exception for, our like NRX friends are fucking hated by those people.
Right.
So yeah, and one of the things that I like about our friends in that space, and I don't want to make it monolithic. I don't even know if people even like using that phrase anymore, right? We have friends of the show on the right that aren't just in that group, right? But to use them as an example, because they're a great example, they're like one of the least dysfunctional groups, okay? Because they're interested in actually being productive and having tangible, constructive goals, quantifiable goals. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And again, there are just a lot of like frog posters, and I don't want to give a bad name to frog posters, right? Entirely, but there are just a lot of them that are just, it's just, everyone's a fucking secret Jew and just insane shit.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, it just sounds like more of the same always to me. It's just like I'm just finding it more and more like, yeah, I don't really vibe with the right or vibe with the left, which has just always been the thing. But it's just like, I don't know, just being kind of disillusioned with that by that, because like I think we've kind of bounced around a little bit left and right with our guests and with who we talk to and what kind of way um, what kind of guests we have on the show for extended periods of time or whatever, or we have with past projects in this one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of like just finding that, I don't know. I'm still just feel like there's just not a like a place for normal people. Like I don't feel like there's um, just a normal, well, like pretty well adjusted take on things that's very prevalent out there. Um, and it's just kind of frustrating to me. And I'm not saying that like on any individual level, but just like at a broader political way. It just seems like there are pockets that have the good handles on certain things and certain topics and certain issues, but it just feels like there's, I don't know. I just still feel a little bit politically homeless, and I don't know. It's just been, I don't know. It's just a little interesting spot to be in.
Yeah, it's interesting. I will say to give credit, as far as like a loose coalition or network of coalitions, like the left can't even compete with the right even slightly. Like most of our friends are vaguely aligned with the right because the left is just a fucking mess. Is like
Right.
it's so, and in the future I would hope that maybe that changes, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would like that, but like it is still worth saying that like the current versions, like the right has a lot of problems. I don't totally identify with it. The left is like completely irredeemable.
Yeah, I think that the right, like there's a bunch of cool shit happening, right? Like there was that conference, Shieldings and stuff like that, where there's like, you're getting voice. There's like people coming together with newer ideas and like trying to put their heads together in a way that is reasonable, and I think that that's good. I don't mean to knock that at all, and I'm still interested in that. I think that that's the right direction to move in, but it's like I just wonder how capable it is of actually building power in that sphere is kind of maybe what I'm skeptical of. When I don't know, I just don't know how capable it's possible to really change the left or the right in a way that benefits normal people. And I understand that you can maybe get a couple of ideas in here or there and maybe get a couple of movers and shakers, to kind of shift a couple of things. But when it comes to just day-to-day material changes for people, it's just like I don't know how much room there is within either left or right, especially when you're going through general, the normal avenues that we have. And I just feel like, I don't know. I've got nothing basically.
No, I mean, I think we basically said everything. And also I don't know that it needs to necessarily be looked at and talked about as a problem. I think it's just like, I think that not being completely aligned is healthy and good.
Oh yeah, of course.
As long as you're like acknowledging, the basic premises of reality, which normies aren't, right? And normies aren't really very conflicted about this stuff. So I think this is a sign of good health, to be honest. And yeah, it can be like a little uncomfortable, especially like right now. I think that online is kind of psychotic, and it's gotten probably more psychotic. I mean, because honestly, I think like going in, like basically COVID made leftism just like a gate, like the gates locked, right? Yeah, and it was just like nobody in or out. And there's not really any disagreement with any of the shit going on there.
Whereas the right kind of opened up a little bit, it feels like. I mean, you got people like Tulsi fucking Gabbard going over there.
Yeah, so there's that. But yeah, no, so that's basically all I have to say on the topic. I mean, it's an ever present theme. So I'm sure we'll talk about it more, but
yeah, no, I mean, I'm definitely thankful that there is, unique, good thinkers and people who are writing and doing the work of actually putting forth dissident ideology into mainstream spaces. I think that that's an important thing to do, regardless of maybe, its capability to really transform any material political channels. I think that putting stuff out there for discussion and getting it into the mainstream for thought, even in small ways, even if it's slightly distorted along the way, is good generally. So I think that's really good. I'm thankful for our friends of the show that are doing that kind of thing. Absolutely. But I just kind of get discouraged a little bit when I just start thinking of like just a broader political scene, and like you're saying, like the things that are on Twitter, and you look at the left, and obviously the left is a fucking complete shit show, right? It obviously is nonsense, and like that's not even worth looking at. But it's like, I don't know, it just feels like everyone's really just kind of like, as far as politics in America, everyone's really twisted up and like off center right now. And I don't mean center as in like centrism or anything. I just mean like just kind of out of balance and out of whack. And it's, I don't know, it just is this, it's a little disheartening, and it feels like we're moving a little bit further away from like trying to think of a unified third way kind of politics, and it's getting still more sectioned off into right or left. Even with new dissident ideas, it's just kind of like, I don't know, it just seems like it's getting pretty sectioned off.
Well, I mean, think about. I mean, we talked about this on Fed Post before, but like, just think about like how much the window had shifted just from COVID alone, right? It's like now we're just trying to like get people to acknowledge that the fucking shot is unsafe. Like it's like, I don't know. I mean, we've just lost ground.
Yeah.
So.
And I think I guess that's just where we're at, and there's nothing really to do about it. But yeah, I don't know. I just think about that because it's just like, I don't know. I interested in Trump. I'm interested in what he can do, but I don't think he's going to do anything meaningful for us going forward. I don't think any of these candidates on the right will. I don't think anyone on the left will. Obviously, there's no one talking about anything other than like RFK and DeSantis bringing up COVID here and there, which I appreciate, and I think it's good. But it's just like, I mean, we're dealing with fucking crazy inflation. It's still happening. Shit's still difficult to do. We're dealing with people that are in jobs that don't know what the fuck they're doing because their education system is complete shit, and COVID made it even worse. We're dealing with just like societal collapse on a lot of different levels, and it just feels like, I don't know, there's just not a lot of adequate solutions being proposed towards it, and it's just a little bit unsettling.
Yeah, 100%. People be twisted up.
Shit, boy. I feel like I've just kind of been zapped, man. I don't know. I'm sorry. I feel like I haven't had a lot to give the past half hour or so.
Dude, I don't know what you're talking about. This was a banger. We can wind down now, though. We can cut it. Yeah. Fucking. We're back on. I'll say this because I want to kind of I want to plug this. Unless you had something else to say before I wind down.
Not really. No, I don't think I have anything.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody, for sticking with us. I'm back on Twitter, and I'm fucking growing it again. Okay, we're growing it again. We're getting people back on. I got a couple guests that I think you guys are going to be pretty excited about coming up. I haven't even told COH quite yet, but we got something in the works real soon. Check me out on Twitter. I'm at Normie Icon. I'm going by SLAV again. Everybody that's been listening, everybody, especially those who are patrons, like, I really appreciate it. Really appreciate the support thus far. I think we're coming into our own here, and we're moving things. I'm getting back in contact with old connections. People are happy to hear from us. We're moving again. So thank you guys. And again, just check out the Twitter account, at Normie Icon SLAV. That's where I'm going to be posting our episodes. Share our shit as much as you can. Tell your friends, tell your mother-in-laws, all that shit. And I mean, that's all we basically got.
Yeah, I think so. All right, folks. Thanks for listening. And we'll catch you all next week.
Later.
And that concludes this week's episode of These People Are Sick. Thank you for tuning in. If you liked what you heard, you could head over to our Patreon page, which is the home for bonus content, extra episodes, video content, access to our Discord, and more. That's patreon.com/thesepeoplearesick, and we hope to see you over there.